Power mapping is a very simple but powerful tool. All it does is specifically identify the person whose behavior you wish to change, then identify who the people are who have influence over that person and whether or not those people agree with you. So, for example, let's say there's a bully. And as you get curious and learn more about them, you find out that their parents and friends might be influential, but don't think what the bully's doing is a problem. And maybe this is happening in your first period, and your first period teacher agrees with you, but is having so many problems with the class that they don't have very much influence. And your friends obviously agree with you, but they still don't have a ton of influence. And your classmates in first period are pretty mixed. But maybe the bully has a coach that they really respect who would be horrified by what they're doing. And maybe you dig around some more and find out that the bully has a crush on someone whom your friends know. Once you've laid out this map, then you look for which of these people you can persuade to use their influence over the bully. In this situation, maybe you ask your friends to bring the bully's crush to walk with you during passing period and prep that crush to say something if the bully makes a mean comment. Maybe you could ask the coach to sit the bully down and make them read out loud the things they've written about you on social media until they want to sink into the floor because they've disappointed someone they respect. Maybe your first period teacher doesn't have much influence, but they and you and your friends can all work on making your first period classmates less tolerant of what's going on. There are many other examples, but in general, you're going to have the most success if you keep the change you're trying to make as small and targeted as possible. You are trying to get the bully to pick a different topic of conversation in the hall between third and fourth period. You are not trying to whip up a vigilante mob, ruin the bully's chances with their crush, or destroy their social standing. While those might be satisfying fights for your survival brain to pick, you're much less likely to get what you want. Creating more of a threat than you need to puts people in their survival brain, triggers resistance, and prompts people to choose a side that might not be yours. It leads the people who have the most influence with the bully to circle the wagons and focus on defending their friend from threat, which often involves defending or minimizing the harmful behavior instead of using their influence to change it. Similarly, the easier you make the intervention you're asking people to do, the more likely you are to get it. Walk with me in the hallway and see for yourself is an easier ask than believe me when I tell you your friend is a horrible person. Likewise, come help me sort things out with this person is an easier ask than I need you to hate this person and help me launch a vendetta against them. Remember, connection, curiosity, and creativity tend to be enjoyable and non-threatening, and using them can get more people to help you. Solutions that focus on connection, curiosity, and creativity are also what's called robust to error, meaning that they still work even if some of your assumption and beliefs about the situation are wrong. This is important because what you're learning about in this series is power, and power can be misused. When your options are limited to lashing out or doing nothing, the stakes for accurately perceiving what's going on in a situation are very high. Let's say someone comes to you and tells you that someone else keeps tripping and shoving them in the hallway, but something about this story doesn't add up, and you're not sure if that's what's really going on. If the options you have for how to respond are 1, beat the alleged bully up, or 2, do nothing, there's a lot riding on figuring out what is the truth. On the other hand, an intervention like having your friend walk in the middle of a group of people during passing period is something that causes no harm, regardless of what's true or not. As much as possible, you want to find responses that will still do good, or at least no harm, even if your beliefs about what happened are wrong, or if there are complexities and nuances that emerge later. Again, power mapping is key. Finding the right person to look at a bully and say, "What are you doing?" may be more effective as an intervention than the wrong person trying to do something that is much more coercive. And that brings us to our next video. How does telling authority figures play into all of this?